In this tutorial, we will look at the aperture table and what that can tell you and how that can help you with your board. The aperture table is this icon right next to the layer table icon. Select that, and you'll notice that for a double-sided board like this one, there are three separate aperture tables here. Now the aperture tables include information about the decode, which is relatively unimportant. It just references each aperture. The shape of the aperture, for instance, round for pads or rectangular for traces or surface mount pads. And we scroll down, we can see that there are a number of different options for each one. As a general rule, you will want to go through each aperture table, and anywhere you see a 0, you'll want to click on that, highlight it, and enter a 1. We scroll down, we see that's the only one left, so we go to the other aperture tables, and we do that as well. If there are any 0 options in there, we'll want to change those to 1. This is important to do because under certain procedures we'll do later, in the older software, having zeros in there created a division by 0 error. So having done that, then you can also reference this if, for instance, you have pads here and you want to shrink them down. Let's get out of this for a minute and let's use the zoom in tool and look at a particular pad. Let's zoom in on this pad, and then up here you'll see this icon, which is a little ruler. We select that, and if we take from the top of the pad, click and drag to measure to the bottom of the pad, we'll see that's about 50 mils or so, 52 hundredths of an inch. Now if we reselect the crosshair, then we go back to the aperture table, we should have a round aperture in the solder side copper. Remember, that's the red one. That is 52. Now if we take this 52 and we change this to 50 and we hit OK, you'll notice that now those pads are smaller. If you do change sizes of pads in here, you should also go back and change that in your Gerber files if you send this out for production, just so that everything's covered. Now, if we just hit undo, that won't undo that particular move, I don't believe. Let's try that. Edit and undo. You see that didn't undo things that are changed in the tables. So we go back to the solder side layer aperture table, and the one that we changed to 50, let's change that back to 52. Hit OK, and now that's returned. So you can definitely change the size of different pads and traces through the aperture table. Now if you also right click on a pad and you select properties, you'll notice that you come up with a decode of D13. This references that entry in the table. This tells you what is the width of the round pad and where it's placed in relation to the 0 point on the origin of the coordinate system. Now if you just go ahead and we'll cancel out of that. Now if you right click on a drill file, and as you hit OK, this will cycle. This should cycle to a T code, which is a tool code. This tells you that this is a 32 mil drill bit. You can see down here the units are mils. These are not millimeters. These are thousandths of an inch, or milli-inches. They're called mils. And so you can also change the size of your drill files, your drill sizes here, if you want to change them. Any changes you make here should also be made in your Gerber files later. So that's the aperture table. In the next tutorial, we will look at the board outline file and how to both extract it from, for instance, an Eagle file that we have here, or create a new one.